You miss a day, you miss a lot. Chicago's Talk Radio, the Big 89, WLS.
Jimmy in Oak Park, you're on WLS.
Yes, I'm calling, first of all, to say that I do think you do a very good job.
Well, thanks. You're in the minority.
ABC or WLS has picked the perfect person. You get the fires going and the juices flowing.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock on the Catherine Johns program. This hour is brought to you by the Rec Room. So, are your juices flowing? I got to tell you what I saw the other night on my way home from work. And maybe you've seen something like this yourself, or maybe you've seen something even more disgusting. I don't know. But I want to hear from you at 591-8900. I left the radio station, was driving down Wacker Drive, and there was like a van kind of in front of me and slightly to the left. And it looked like somebody was sticking their head out the window. And as I got closer and pulled up beside this car, I realized that this woman was hanging out the side of the car, heaving her guts out.
Oh.
And it was like all over the car. It was just disgusting. And what made it more disgusting was that it was a woman as opposed to a frat boy, and that it was a grown woman. You know, a middle-aged woman, a grown-up, not like some college kid who hasn't learned to hold her liquor yet, but I mean a mature woman in a sequined vest, hanging out the side. I mean, just her head was just kind of dangling out, and as I drove by, I was trying to kind of swerve away a little bit because I didn't want any of that puke on the purple probe, and I was looking at her, and she was just, you know, her eyes were glassy. She was a mess. Too much holiday partying for this woman. Now, we talked about office parties last week, and one of the things people were advising was don't get too drunk. I mean, maybe she'd not been at an office party. Maybe she'd been at some other kind of party, but she clearly was a party person dressed in party clothes. And she partied too much. That's like being overserved, as my buddy Fred used to say. She was overserved, for certain. I went, ew. Well, sometimes you just say that, ew. Now, I want to know disgusting things you've seen on the street. Maybe you saw the same woman I did. I don't know. Maybe you were watching some guy pick his nose. Maybe, well, you know, truck drivers tell me they see all kinds of things because, of course, they have a good vantage point because they're above the cars and can see down into cars where people in other cars couldn't necessarily see what was going on. So truck drivers may be full of stories about unusual, oddball, or indeed revolting things that have been seen on the street. You know, sometimes it's just you watch some homeless guy shuffling along, and that's disgusting because he's icky and dirty and smelly. And if you get too close, it's especially disgusting. But this thing, I don't think I have ever seen a person throwing up out the side of a car. I mean, I've heard people talk about that. It's kind of like a myth, you know, but not to her. It wasn't a myth. It was the real thing. And it was interesting, you know, I sort of confronted one of my own biases, I guess, that I don't think I would have found it as disgusting if it had been a young man. Not that I would have said that was, you know, a cool thing to do, but it wouldn't have quite been as jarring as this middle-aged woman. Barb in Elgin, you're on WLS.
Good evening, Catherine. I have to turn the radio down already. I was in a cab going to McCormick Place one morning, and we were at a stoplight, and the guy was going to make a right turn when he could, and so you had good vision of, you know, the outside of the other cab.
Yeah.
And the door opens, and a mayonnaise jar comes, and he empties the mayonnaise jar with some kind of a brownish-looking fluid.
Uh-oh.
And I said to my cab driver, is that what I thought it was? He said, yeah, I'm afraid so. So the guy was just kind of relieving himself in the taxi, and then he just dumped it on the street.
Now, when that tops it all, Catherine, Lincoln Park, nice upscale neighborhood, walking with my wife, I see a guy kind of scratching himself in his derriere. Actually, what he did is he relieved himself right on the corner of Diversey, just off of Clark Street. And he was pulling up his pants, and everybody was kind of scrambling to get out of his way. Cops came by, said, hey, what are you doing? He said, I had to go. And they just continued on. They didn't want to deal with the guy either.
So am I getting you right that he...
Yes.
Right there on the street corner?
On Diversity. It was at 7:30 in the evening.
God!
Yeah, that's what I said.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, is there a pooper scooper law for that?
Well, everybody just avoided that side of the street.
I guess. Oh, man. Thanks, Joe. 591-8900 is the number. Sandy on a car phone in Bolingbrook. You're on WLS.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Sandy.
This happened a few days ago. I'm driving behind a guy, and he rolls down his window and does a honker out the window.
I hate that.
I hate that. I was like, if that hit my car, he would have been a dead man.
You know, I hate it worse, though, when people do it when they're walking, and a lot of times it's old men. I was walking behind a guy just here over on Lake Street outside the radio station the other day, and he was doing that, you know, like that. Oh, yuck. Why are they spitting on the sidewalk like that? It's disgusting. Then you walk by and you get it on your shoes, and yuck.
I agree. And kids, too, that just spit. You know, that's another thing. People that just spit on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
How gross. Anyway, Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Sandy. Same to you. 591-8900 is the number. Jim in Highland Park. You're on WLS.
Good evening, Catherine. How are you?
Good. How are you, Jim?
Good. I used to live up at the Addison Belmont area.
Mm-hmm.
Got off the L. I was walking home to my apartment from work, and out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw flesh, and I looked over. There's a little white church up there at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman, who looked to be a homeless woman, was bent over, her hands around her knees, and she was urinating right there in front of the church.
Oh.
She was looking right at me, and I was looking right at her, and I kind of thought to myself, well, now, there's something you don't see every day.
No, and thank goodness. You wouldn't want to see that every day.
No, it wasn't the most interesting thing. Well, it was the most interesting thing I've seen up to that point.
Thanks, Jim. That is the thing, you know, stuff that's disgusting. It's like when you smell something that smells vile and then you want to smell it again, or you want to show it to somebody else and say, here, smell this because it's disgusting. Disgusting stuff can be a draw sometimes. Steve on the Northwest Side, you're on WLS.
Catherine, that caller a couple people ago, I swear to God, I saw that same guy on the street.
Really? On Diversity?
He was right on Clark, just north of Diversity. He wears a green slicker type raincoat.
Yeah.
And he was just walking along, and he pulled up his raincoat, and he had nothing underneath.
Oh, come on.
Loose.
Really?
Yeah, I work for the city, and I run a complaint truck for the sewer department, so we see the same cast of characters day in and day out, and this guy was, if he's not diving in garbage cans for food, he's doing his business right on the street.
So, you know, what do you do about somebody like, I don't mean what you personally do, but what do we collectively do about somebody like that?
Well, I don't really know. I don't know. Most people just turn their heads in disgust, so...
Well, I suppose, but, you know, it seems like there ought to be a way to make people stop doing that.
See, they're not all here, so they really can't be reached, I don't think.
Well, that may be, that they're just beyond, well, can't be reached sums it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
591-8900 is the number at WLS. So that was an interesting flurry of disgusting stuff, but somehow I don't think we've exhausted all the possibilities. So here's a couple of things. If you are in the Chicagoland area, you know that you can dial us straight at 312-708-847, 630-773, the numerous area codes around here. If you're outside the Chicagoland area, the area code in Chicago is 312. Now, maybe in small towns, in rural areas, you don't see so much disgusting stuff on the streets. Or maybe you see even more disgusting stuff. I don't know. Maybe you listen to me talk about seeing a woman hang her head out of the car and puke, and you say, yeah, I've seen that a million times. Well, I don't know. It could be. I mean, I guess part of why it seemed weird to me was because it looked so out of place on Wacker Drive, woman all dressed up in a sequiny kind of top. You know, it didn't fit. It wasn't like she was coming back from a kegger or something, like a college student party out in the forest or at a state park, you know, where you might think that kind of thing would go on. It was just out of place. I suppose it's never really in place that somebody should hang their head out the side of the car and puke. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. Context sometimes makes the difference. So perhaps you can give us the lowdown. You're a truck driver. You travel interstate highways. You've seen a lot. Or you live in a small town, and, you know, you're very accustomed to seeing disgusting things, and you think I'm being squeamish. 591-8900 is the number here. William in Markham, you're on WLS.
Hey, good evening, Catherine.
Hi, William.
It seems every time I call you, it's about my experience in the military over in Japan.
Well, you have a wealth of information to share with us, William.
Well, over there, for business to go on, the Japanese men, the businessmen get off work and they go out to these bars, and it's like a ritual. They have to go out and drink and get absolutely plowed, and there's no such thing as public drunkenness. And you see in these bar regions, they just use the street for whatever they choose to do.
Really?
You see these businessmen in these $1,000 suits just staggering down the road. They'll just stop and arbitrarily just relieve themselves and just keep on going. Nothing. It's weird, but
now that is very weird. See, I think of Japan. Of course, I've never been there, but my impression of it is that people are proper, that there are rules there.
Oh, sure, during the day, but once you're in the bar district,